What is up, theology nerds? This is Trip, and I'm here not just with J. Patty on the bottom from Rethinking Faith, but the man in the closed down bar lobby, the Bo Daddy.
Hey, how are you? I got permission to sit in the dark end of the bar in this hotel lobby because it's 7 a.m. here, and I didn't want to wake up my neighbors with a rowdy TNT.
Yeah, not everyone. Not you have to give consent before you hear the tones of the Bo Daddy getting
enthusiastic.
nerdy.
That's true. And the other thing is I heard them laughing quite loud last night, and I thought, oh, these walls aren't very thick, so I needed to come up with an alternative plan.
Well, it worked. It worked. So
Hey,
what are you up to, though, Bo?
I'm at annual conference. So for those of us who are Methodist, every year we get together with our clergy colleagues and an equal representation of lay people. And so it's a fun gathering, and I always learn a lot. I'm always humbled to be around. You guys may not know this, but I'm not really a true believer. I'm too I've read too much postmodern philosophy and French theorists and other such things. So I do my best. I mean, I really do try to be present. Josh, what are you holding up?
Resurrecting the Death of God. You mentioned it, and so I'm reading it currently, and
there you go.
I was trying to relate.
You're mirrored, so I couldn't read the title backwards.
Oh, I should fix that.
Anyway, I always am humbled to be around people who are so sincere in their faith and so diligent and authentic in their ministries. It really, for me, is a reset sort of every year to do a heart check and to make sure that I am bringing my best internal posture to my vocation. It's actually a good thing.
Aw.
Now,
you know what's funny is everyone that listens to this has gotten like regular updates about all the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
And like you being the one that like needed the hard update compared to like what actual kind of engagement occurs in most congregations. Like they don't invent the Holy Rollers ministry though. And rebuild lots of bikes for people. I mean, you pioneered new digital ministry by figuring out how the local radio station's AI could discover about your community center or community gathering, and y'all packed the place out. I mean, just think of all you've done this year. But you're probably warming other people's hearts as well.
I appreciate that, but I'll give you an example. And I think you both are probably the same way as well. Like in our opening worship service, the first evening, I'm bored out of my mind. I'm just, and I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, or here's my theory. I have so much energy in the cells of my body, right? Like just the animated, caffeinated self that I am. And I'm sitting there, and I think because both my parents died young, I am constantly aware, like as I sit there for an hour and a half, I'm just getting older. Like I'm just sitting here aging. I should go do something. And so I end up leaving a lot. Like I gotta go. That's like my constant.
You're consciously thinking about your own aging.
I am.
I think of it in the first 10 minutes of every morning, right? Where you get up and then you're like, why does my lower back feel like I just worked out? I was sleeping.
Did someone punch me in the kidney?
You look at your watch, you're like, did I ram it up enough? What's going on?
Hey, just out of curiosity for you two, what's your favorite part of travel and your least favorite part of travel?
Ooh. Well, I just got back from, a week in Minneapolis where I taught the class and stuff we talked about last week, and got to hang out with Josh and Emily. Josh, who edits the podcast, not that Josh.
Different Josh.
And Emily and their baby Davy, she's like 6 months old, and got to hang out with Tony, and Andy Root and stuff. So it's like my favorite part of traveling is when I see friends I normally only see on the internet in person. If they have an infant or a child that will enjoy my presence, then it just kind of goes up.
Yeah.
So,
and you like babies too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't have to take them home. Which is the best part about the youngest that will live with me is 9 and he'll be 10 next year.
That's
and
awesome.
There's no reset buttons allowed in this house. Not till grandkids. That's the only perk of getting married. To true love waits right till you get married at 20. Then you have kids early. All your friends are running around with like adult job money, but no offspring, doing fun stuff. Alicia and I got plans. Ours are going to be gone.
That's funny.
All of our friends are going to be like, middle school, what is that? I'm going to be like, I remembered it was something. I only have the good memories at this point. We're going to go see our used to be middle schoolers in Europe together because they're adults. Yeah, and taunt all those late baby having millennials.
Hilarious. So CJ and I are going on our 33rd year of marriage this summer, and we never had our own kids, and we always planned on adopting, or we've had nephews and nieces stay with us when they were in transition or whatever. But it's weird. My Facebook stream feed is weird because all my friends from college and even high school, they're like, kids are graduating right now and they're becoming grandparents. And I still feel like a youth pastor who doesn't have my own kids. It's weird.
I had an existential crisis the other day. So I don't have any kids. I'm living that dink life out of necessity. Out of necessity.
No kids, like, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you for breaking it down for those at home. Dink. Yeah. But I went over to my parents because a friend was visiting, a family friend from Brazil was visiting, and there was a kid there named Eli who I held as an infant, and I remember doing this. And then he drove me around in my car, and while that was happening, I was like losing my mind, having an existential crisis. I got back and I talked to his mom, and I was like, "Yo, Eli just drove me in my own car," and I held him when he was a baby. I wasn't prepared for it, so I can't imagine how you guys must feel really old.
Yeah, feeling old.
Josh, when did you graduate high school?
2012.
Yeah. Here's why I asked this, Bo. At some point, I can't remember what it was, but Josh asked me like, "Oh, did you ever talk to so and so?" And I was like, "Yeah, they've been on the podcast like 3 times. Like they were on in 2008." And I named off things, and Josh was like, "Yeah, I was still in youth group."
Josh, wait, you know what's interesting? I was doing my doctoral work from 2010 to 2016. I was a youth pastor, so you could have been in my youth group.
I could have been, yeah. I graduated college in 2016.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So my least favorite part of travel, I do get tired of living out of the suitcase with you have a grocery bag because you went to the grocery store and you got your toiletries, and it feels very like disheveled, and that gets old after a while to me. At first it's sort of novel and fun, but after a while you're like, I either need to come up with a better system or I got to go home. I'm feeling very disorganized. I have to move hotels today. I don't know. I think there's a big soccer tournament in Boise that starts today. And I literally couldn't even find a campground to stay in. Or in this hotel, I could only get Wednesday and Thursday night. So I have to move hotels today. And I'm feeling like this weird anxiety. It showed up in my dreams last night. Like I was entangled in all of the cords from my camping gear. And I know I was probably internally processing this whole anxiety of trying to move my disheveled mess.
Dude, I I have some things going on in life that you two know about, but they'll stay in the background. But I have this reoccurring dream where like there's a ton of spiders everywhere. Like no matter where I
Oh.
go, they're in my house, they're in my shoes. I can't get rid of them, and I hate spiders, so it freaks me out. But I was talking to my friend yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, well, you should like look up what spiders mean in a dream." And I was like, "That's
Oh,
dumb. Like I
yep.
don't, whatever." But I did, and it was like it was like number one, feeling overwhelmed by many small. House and dreams often represents your inner life, sense of self, or personal world. Spiders throughout the house
Oh,
can
Lord.
symbolize problems, anxieties, obligations, or unresolved issues that seem to be spreading into every area of your life.
This is hilarious.
Oh,
I always have to send you a screenshot of the other 5 because they're
Oh
all
my.
uncomfortably accurate.
it's
Oh
like a
my
different
gosh.
bullet point for each leg.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Oh
Each of
my.
the 8 legs represents a different
Mm.
anxiety. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I in the I every time I read through Lord of the Rings, Shelob's lair creeps me up.
Mm.
That's the big
Mm.
spider, Josh. And
Mhm.
I will say that's one of the other things that happens when I travel is on the plane. Unless I have to grade papers, I read books I enjoy, like Lord of the Rings. And in the past, I started it again, whatever, like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Remember when
Oh,
Elgin,
really?
whenever that
Yeah,
was?
yeah.
And I'm already almost done. And I was
What?
reading on a late night flight
Oh,
the encounter with Shelob, the giant
it is
spider,
terrifying.
and oh, it creeped me out. I had a nasty Shelob dream, but I wasn't Sam or Frodo. I was that orc that was just had gotten tagged and was just like left up in there that they found. Because here's why I think the dream happened. I'd never really paid attention to this. Normally, I'm just like, oh, come on, Frodo, you're not dead yet, the Shadrach and Gorshak having their little conversation, and they talk about this one guy that just went missing, and then they just found him in Shelob's lair. He'd gotten tagged and all strung up on the thing, but he wasn't dead yet. But they were like, yeah, we didn't. This is their friend. They were like, yeah, but we didn't want to take it from old Shelob. Don't need her getting upset. And I just thought, well, like, why are you going to leave your boy alive, coming to after being drugged up and tied up in a like, you could cut him free. And I'm like, why we got to hate on the orcs? They could be friends and just on the wrong side. But then my dream, it was just like all these people, just that everyone in my life were orcs, and they were just like, Trip, it's not personal. We don't want to mess with Shelob's lair.
Dude, you should Google how somebody would interpret that dream.
No, I'm not going to Google it. Okay. We've already got Josh pioneered that, and I say no pursuit.
Josh, have you ever heard Trip talk about his dreams before?
Oh yeah, they're crazy.
Right? He like whatever he reads before he goes to bed, he like processes in his dream state.
Yeah, that's really cool. I used to be able to, when I used to have to write sermons on a regular basis, it would stress me out so much that like I could figure things out in my sleep and then wake up and like bang some things out.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
But I can't, the like processing, or Trip will be like, oh, last night I had a dream that I was talking to Alfred North Whitehead and also Jack Caputo and Martin Luther King Jr. And here's a 45-minute Substack article that I just poured out of my head. That's brilliant. I'm like, how the
Yeah. No, it's weird. One time he met an author on a plane, and he creeped out this famous author by saying, do you know I have imaginary conversations with you in my dreams?
Bo, you know who that was, right?
I do.
Okay. And are you waiting to tell that story to them in person in front of an audience?
Yes.
I thought so. I was like, for a second, I thought, he forgot. I'm not giving him the answer. And then I thought, No, he's thought about this, and he plans on using it at Theology Beer Camp.
Hey, I want to tell you guys about something cool I get to do this afternoon. I got a call about 2 weeks ago, and they asked me to organize a contemporary worship service for Friday afternoon. So I'll give you the highlight and the low light of planning this thing. So the highlight is, well, I should say all right, here's the low light. After I agreed and I had a brilliant brainstorming session where I felt the spirits leading about like what to do, then they sent me all the details. And this thing was basically pre-planned already, and I've had to modify the heck out of it to make it a contemporary worship service. But the theme they gave me, and if you know me at all, you're going to enjoy this, is reflect, repent, repair.
As Bo Daddy Catnip. And we know Josh likes Rees. It's the name of his podcast, Rethinking Faith.
I hate theological projects that start with RE so much. I was like, anyway. I mean, if they had thrown it,
well, what about if you just start sticking Al on the name of critique doctrines? Yeah. It just triggering to some people.
If they had thrown in reform, I would have just peed my pants. I couldn't have handled it. So that's the low light, is like all the stuff they sent me that I have to work in. And what I've decided to do is I'm just going to, so I did something classically Bo. In the planning meeting Wednesday afternoon, I could tell that they were stressed about the the Thursday ordination meeting and the Friday retirement ceremony. And that people were really worried because these services in the cathedral, in the sanctuary, have a lot of moving parts. So I just said, hey, you know what? I got this contemporary worship service. If you guys just want to give it to me, I'll run the whole thing. You could put all your energy into Thursday and Saturday. You don't even have to think about Friday. And everyone said, oh, that would be a huge relief. And so they just handed it to me. So I didn't have to run my ideas past anyone. I'm so excited about that move. Anyway, my plan is to stage an emergency, experiential, interactive gathering. And then afterwards, somebody's going to say to me, hey, you didn't check all the boxes of the stuff that we sent you. And my plan is to say to them, oh, I'm sorry. You asked me to plan a contemporary worship service, but then you sent me the script of a telethon. And so I'm going to
say that you switched from reform to unform. I switched the prefix. What were the other three words, Bo?
It's reflect, repent, repair. Because it's Juneteenth.
Yeah. No, I understand the logic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but then I won't get into it. Dude, the amount of emails that I have received of stuff I'm supposed to squeeze into this service, it really does help me understand why our liturgical gatherings are so boring. Because the number of agendas that get sent in is like, and you have to do this. Oh, and also representation. And we need to include this group. And there has to be an announcement about this. And somebody needs to say, like, this is how the offering is going to be taken up. And this is what the offering is going to, the theological fund. And blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can just bog this thing down so much that it won't be meaningful. I mean, that's my humble estimation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Just so everyone knows, I couldn't remember why I had texted Josh and said, can you join Bo and I? And so
I don't even know.
I know. No. But see, there was a reason, and I'd left myself a note that said check with Josh for TNT. And that's because 2 weeks ago, I got an email from Jennifer, who's a Substack person. And she said, I never get to do, like I can't join live, but I have questions that I keep wanting to stick in the chat. So
Mm.
here are random questions that have come up from previous TNTs, and they're numbered. So I thought we could just take turns picking numbers and have fun. And that was as far as I got, other than, and it was like, oh, how have y'all changed on this or this? So then I thought we need someone who will tell us if our answers suck or not and ask follow-ups on Jennifer's behalf. And I was like, oh, it'd be funny to get Josh to do it. So that was the idea. Now that I found the email.
Can you forward me the questions?
Yes. But hold on. I'm gonna cut and paste these suckers. Give me a second.
Ooh, cool.
So
now you can say whatever you want, Bo.
So until Trip, I mentioned that people send in questions. I forgot to turn on my chat, and so I just opened it. I love our chat so much. People are so funny.
There's quality stuff in here.
Oh my goodness! One of the things here, it's way back, was somebody was suggesting some other RE words. For instance, reject, Lori, and then Get Behind Me, Jesus says. I mean, they could be reparations. That's an RE word. And the church could take responsibility for reimagining a better society. But I love when people put parentheses around the RE. I use slashes a lot because I've read, post-structural stuff. But anyway,
the time to rebrand, Bo. That's Get Behind Me, Jesus also said that.
Very creative and clever, snarky people in our chat.
The question, this is something I'm interested in, because y'all are like, what, how far apart? Because you could have been his youth minister. I would have been his youth minister end of my time as youth minister. Bo could have had Josh from middle school.
Yeah.
But y'all both started in much more conservative parts of the church.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about it when Tim was on here, one of the things I found fascinating was just even how different that same world was right when you were entering ministry and stuff, Bo.
That's right.
And when your questions changes ran up against stuff.
Yes.
And Josh's.
Oh,
so
yeah,
maybe that'd be a good way. I realize we have not introduced Josh as well. 4 people on Substack wanted me to tell. They were like, who's Josh? And I'm like, oh, geez. Because it's not like Bo and I introduce ourselves every week. And then I just assume if we know someone, everyone does. That would be a fun way of introducing Josh. And I'm going to cut and paste these things and send them to Josh.
No, that's good.
Since you guys did the whole emergency thing, can I tell you an emergency kind of idea that I had that I think it's just too late, but I think it would still be cool?
Yeah.
So as you know, I used to brew beer professionally. And when I still did that, I had this idea where, imagine a church that is also a brewery, during the week, and maybe a coffee roaster or something for in the morning. But here's the catch. It would be community focused. So one cool thing is on Sunday, you can have a beer during church. That sounds fun. Homebrewed, or theology beer camp, but every Sunday. But as the community piece, imagine, this month our Pilsner, all of the proceeds, if you buy the Pilsner, goes to the homeless shelter down the street, this partner. And so you always have these kind of community focused partners that different beers would support. And then one of them would just be the house church beer. So any proceeds from this one goes directly back to the church. So it'd be this very community focused space. Then you can host make it an event space as well, so people could enjoy it and all this kind of stuff. But then it could also serve as a church on Sundays. I thought that would be fun, but I don't think, maybe during the emergent era, something like that could be tried. I don't know if it would vibe today or not.
No, I think it has real merit, and let me tell you why. So up until 3 years ago, when I was appointed to Southern Idaho, my entire ministry career had been very worship centric. When I was a church planter in New York, when I helped plant a church out in Olympia, Washington, when I helped start the Loft down in LA, and then the renovation project that I did with Vermont Hills, my entire ministerial history was very worship centric. This move to Southern Idaho has asked me to sort of reinvent myself. And I have entered into the nonprofit world in a way I've never interacted with before. And I am learning so much. So not only do we have 501c3s that we share the building with, but I've joined Kiwanis because Southern Idaho is about 20 years behind. Like everything is still on Facebook. My favorite bike shop doesn't even have its own website. Everyone just has a Facebook page. My wife's beautician, you make your appointments on Facebook. Like there's no meetup. There's no, like, it's not about websites. It's about Facebook. So stepping back a little bit and then joining a group like Kiwanis and working with nonprofits, I am learning so much. And one of the things I'm figuring out is if you have an institutional church, okay, there are two advantages to being a hybrid, like you're talking about. One is you have a brick and mortar space, right? So you're not paying rent, overhead. And the second thing is you have a built-in volunteer base. And people want to participate in something doing good in the world. So when you have, for us, a weekly meal, free meal, groceries, right, for the pantry, clothing for the closet, and the bikes, so that's their ecosystem on the first floor, people will come out of the woodwork. People who don't even, like, they're not a part of your church. They may not even be believers or anything, but they will financially support something that does good in the world. And the more creative you get, as far as like if there's a trade-off, like buying let's say a Holy Pilsner, and right, but people are generous and they want their money to go to good, and they'll volunteer, not like hours and hours a week, but if you stage an event like our party in the park or cooking for the meal, people will bring their kids, right? And they'll volunteer, like when their family comes in from out of town, they'll say, just so you know, on Sunday morning, we're going to cook at the kitchen. And so you'll get guests that come to volunteer. So I think an idea like you're talking about, which is a hybrid, it has a profit making side, but it goes to charitable causes, could be self-sustaining because people are looking for creative ways both to serve and to give. So I think it could work, man.
I wrote this proposal for a postmodern abbey like right around the time we started the podcast, and that was one of the things in it. And the whole goal was that it would be like starting a church, but also like an outpost for theological education, where it's a small business, like a abbey style, funded abbey style, where people would go essentially to divinity school and graduate debt free, learn how to start like brewery, tap room, run it. You keep the hours and make it a community space, right? So it's an alternative form of a faith community. And so like it can host all sorts of different religious and spiritual gatherings and things, but it's like the format is like, oh, these are the ordained people. They also just run the abbey. And that's the, so you don't have it utterly dependent on gifts and stuff, and then you could have it where such a high percentage of anything anyone gives goes out. And they also know if they give, they're having these students graduate debt free to be able to do something like that and not take a job at whatever church can pay off their student loans and stuff like that.
It's good.
And because the other side of it is, think of when you have long-term churches, especially in places with movement. Bo and I both experienced this in Los Angeles. It's really hard where if that 1/3 of the congregation are the ones that never move and leave to connect with the changing shape of the neighborhood. You can get class and race shifts. You can get a place where there's lots of itinerant people, like Los Angeles. You live there for a certain number of years and leave. And think of how many people never feel like they get to be a part of the community because all the churches that are big enough to have the resources for like kids and family have a third of the congregation that's there for their fourth generation, and everyone else is just in a life situation you aren't doing that, and so they don't get input and stuff. Well, if the long timers are actually just committed to the well-being of the space hosting, then different things can start and end in their own season, and the things that are long term are just the praying in the hours, which anyone can join. And obviously you do it in a way where it's not like off-putting, but more of like invitational, and a bar where half the people tending it had pastoral care and counseling and can connect you with like counseling resources and stuff like that. Seems like it could be a net positive.
Josh, I have an idea for Trip that I haven't been able to sell him on yet.
Okay.
So I figured out that as Methodists, not only do we close a lot of congregations, we actually have a phrase for it, that they've reached their faithful conclusion. That's what we say, right? We
very nice.
We code it. But then there are empty buildings. And also we're going through a thing called disaffiliation, where churches that aren't open and affirming are buying their way out, and some of them leave behind a building. So I want Trip to get one of these empty buildings in, what do you call that triangle? The Duke, Wake Forest, North Carolina triangle? Research triangle?
Yeah, Research Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, and then the 4 ACC schools is Tobacco Road.
Okay, so I want him to get one of these empty buildings and make it into an event space, so he could host all of his homebrewed conversations there, but also rent it out to other groups, including if somebody wanted to start a more casual church, like an actual congregation. And by using building usage fees, both for the homebrewed events and for alternative site events, that I actually think that it would be a sustainable model, and he would have his own facility as an event center.
I like it.
He doesn't have a vision for it, though.
I just feel like that would obligate me to start going to meetings. This is my homebrewed meeting. Theology no throwdown.
No, I think that planning.
Look, Josh and I both went from having staff church meetings on your calendar to not. And
this is true. It feels pretty good to not.
You know how many things I miss about ministry? Like, it's significant. If someone was like, we don't have any money, so we're just going to give you a little bit that you can have, but we're just going to put you in charge of something, but you don't have to come to meetings. And the once a month, the senior minister will tell us what they want you to do. Then I'll be like, great. Then I'm going to do the people stuff. You're like, oh, do a discipleship group. Oh, do this. Fine. It's some church council meetings. I don't need any help believing in the depravity of our species. And I swear, like, what's up? And this feeling. I don't want to judge everyone that signs up for it, because someone has to. But I've known some amazing people. And then you're so excited they're being nominated for leadership. And then I realized I did not know them, because somehow I'm getting on church council. They got Boromired, You're the mighty son of Dondor, heir of the steward. And then that rings up in that business. And you're just like, I have thoughts. And you're like, well, you did not have any of these thoughts for the last 10 years. Where are these thoughts coming from? And who else is in the room. You know how many meetings I'm going to have because you said this?
Oh, no.
Anyway.
So I think planning beer camp occupies enough of both of your year that you don't need a lot else going on. I mean, the amount of work behind the scenes that you guys put in to pull off that event, that's like, that's a part-time job in itself.
Well, it's a part-time job for like 7 people.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, like, literally that is an accurate description.
Yeah.
In the most like legitimate, literal sense. Like, you nailed
Josh,
it.
did you get those questions?
I did, yeah. 30 of them.
30?
Yeah, and
Well-
we're gonna do all 30 of them, Bo, an hour on each one.
Lightning round.
They aren't power ranked by what I thought or anything.
Yeah. There's
And there were more of them than that. I just
yeah, there's a bunch. So how do you want me to go about doing this? Do you want to do where, like you said, you guys pick a random number and then that's the question?
If we want, or you can just pretend whatever number Bo says is the question you wanted to ask.
Oh, that's a good point. All right.
Yeah.
I won't tell the people which one I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
let
So if it
the
is a solid
spirit
question
drive.
that he gives, you can do it.
Okay. All right. All right, Bill, 1 through 30, dude.
All right, we always start with 8. It's the number of newness.
Ooh. Okay, this you actually did pick a good one. What's a prayer that you have prayed that got answered in a way that still unsettles you?
Ugh.
So you prayed for something and then you were like, okay, maybe not.
Because I have a charismatic background, I mean, I truly, deeply love the presence of God's Spirit in my life. That divine presence of Holy Spirit is the reason I still keep at this at all. The problem with Holy Spirit is that she likes to clean house. And she's always working to unclutter and sanitize the stuff you try and hide and keep under the sink and hidden behind the fridge, and opening myself to the leading of the Spirit has been both the best part of my life and the most uncomfortable. I'm always coming under conviction for dude, my priorities are not, I'll just be honest. This is like a confession. My priorities aren't great. And I am far more into comfort than health. And, you know, I don't use my time well. And I say bad words a lot and all sorts of other stuff.
Have you listened to Rethinking Faith?
No, I don't. I don't, because it starts with RE.
Yeah, I figured I'll rebrand it just for you.
Yeah. So, come Holy Spirit is a prayer that I have prayed, and it's messed up my life pretty good. I'm not who I am so different than who I would be without Christ's Spirit living in me. But I'm nowhere near what Sophia would dream for me. It's really uncomfortable and a little embarrassing.
Dr. Fuller.
My brother has this line in one of his songs. It's something like, I'm a little better than I could be, not nearly as good as I should be. And but well, let's see. If it was very specific, it was maybe a year or so ago. I was like, I want to be like genuinely uncomfortable about something that demands I grow beyond it.
Oh no.
And I want to just officially regret the efficiency of the lure at generating opportunities for growth.
Come on, man. That's hilarious. Why would you do that?
Well, I thought, this was all setting up, like thinking, oh, well, Elgin's getting close to graduating. Like, I should start thinking, here's what kind of kicked it off. And I told my mom and dad this the other day, we're one of the big graduation things. And I was like, I remember when I was graduating thinking that y'all seemed like normal, competent adults. And I don't feel that way. And my dad just kind of looked at me like, yeah, I think I'm still just faking it. Something like that. Like, no, you don't ever really think like, oh, well, I got that. I'm glad I've got this figured out. And well, let's just say there are ways in which my lack of figured out has become increasingly transparent. And also, when you pray things like that and you put it in your prayer journal, it then when you go back to it and are like, about that, could we go like halfsies? Like, you know, I like when I said transparently clear so that I was uncomfortable and called to growth, what I meant was something different. I don't know what, but not this. Oh well.
Speaking,
but at least I get along with the chickens.
So in our Methodist system, to move from where I currently am, I'm called a licensed local pastor, and my license is only good for a year. I have to renew it every year, and it's not guaranteed. That's a true statement. By the way, my backup plan is to move to North Carolina and start an event center in an old Methodist empty building. That's my backup plan.
Then we can be neighbors.
Yep.
Okay. Then look, I told you I'm looking down for a place to volunteer 10 to 15 hours of work that sets me up for ministerial encounters.
Josh, you want to run the brewery side of it?
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm just saying. It sounds like I know that you fix things up, Bo.
I do.
I know you like to still go to meetings. I would love to empower you to do all of that.
It is my backup plan. I'm being serious. Anyway, so
Elgin left, so we got an extra room here.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, to move from being a licensed local pastor, I only have 2 more classes in my course of study, and then I can apply to be an associated member. But in order to do that, I have to answer a series of questions, both to the Board of Ordained Ministry and then publicly to get this ordination. And every year when these questions are asked of the candidates, I mean, so guys, think about this. Think about where you'd have to be in order to answer these questions, okay? There's 7 of them.
Josh, this is going to be triggering for you. I'm just giving a heads up as to
so I should answer all 7 questions.
Yeah, Josh, now that you asked us one question on Jennifer's behalf, and now Bo has 7 for you specifically.
Okay. Josh, let's play a game. You've come before the Board of Ordained Ministry, and here are the questions. Have you faith in Christ?
Sure.
No,
he's starting off strong here.
Yeah.
Right. Are you going on to perfection?
Oof. I feel like I'm failing currently, but there is a possible world where I continue. If it's an ongoing process of becoming, I am getting there. Like Kierkegaard, I am becoming a Christian.
Oh, look at that, Bo. I feel like that is a truthful yet not compromising your integrity answer. And I would pass that.
Question 3. Do you expect to be made perfect in love in this life?
Ooh, as a Methodist, do you have to say yes to that?
Yes.
Yeah, because okay. Ooh,
what if you said the being made perfect in this life is that in the concrescence of every event, it is received into the divine life, judged and redeemed, and your perfected life meets you as an invitation towards perfection in each moment. That's Marjorie Suhaki's answer, and that's why she would say yes.
Grace. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Grace, even.
So we're getting into the deep end of the pool. You ready?
Yep.
After full examination, do you believe that our doctrines are in harmony with the Holy Scriptures?
I mean,
harmony.
Yeah, harmony is good. They are in conversation.
This is great.
They are a helpful and faithful interpretation given one's thrownness in the world as a Methodist.
You're doing very well at this.
Man, maybe we can get Josh ordained Methodist right now.
All right, there's 2 more questions.
That's what they need. The guy that has to update it every year, and the Baptist. See, we ordain almost anything. So
we have 2 more questions. Do you approve our church government and polity?
When functioning properly in service of love in the direction of Christ, I approve of it.
You're doing so good. I'm going to copy all your answers. Here's the last one. Are you in debt so as to embarrass you in your work?
Yes.
Right. Me too. Me too.
Correct. Let me tell you just how in debt I am. Student loans.
I always like to point out I'm in debt because I went to a Methodist school.
That's a good answer. Yeah. I'm in debt because I graduated college, got married immediately, took a job that necessitated fundraising the entirety of my salary
for the Lord.
For the Lord.
Oh.
And then I moved from Maryland to Florida to take my first pastoral job, which I found out after the fact they docked 20 G's off my salary because they were like, oh, this kid's young, he's dumb, he's not going to know any better. He's going from fundraising to we're guaranteeing him money. So I didn't make any money there. Then I left and went to a Methodist congregation and made even less money. And then I moved back from Florida to Maryland. Got paid a reasonable salary at a church that I actually really liked. Shout out Seneca Creek. But like, then I quit doing that, became a brewer, really didn't make any money again.
Oh.
And I've been living in that ever since. Like, yeah, that's probably one of my most embarrassing aspects of my own life that I like feel the worst about is my lack of ability to manage money in anything that resembles being an adult or responsible.
Oh, wow.
But I think it's because I've been in a hole my entire life and I've never been able to get out.
Interesting. You also have a book buying problem.
Yeah.
That's what the podcast is for, to get them for free.
That's also true. I do get most of my books for free these days, unless they're ones that are like, I'm reading and then I'm like, oh, this book came out 40 years ago and it's $3 on Amazon because it's not in print anymore.
Tough to turn down.
Yeah.
But Bo, Josh has a new job that he started this month.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I work for it's currently called the Center for Christogenesis. Perhaps you've heard of Elia Delio. So I work with Elia now, which is super cool. I'm the director of creative content and communications at the Center for Christogenesis. But we're going through a big rebrand right now, and we're about to be called the World
Rebrand?
Yeah, another rebrand. We're changing our name to the World Institute for Science, Religion, and Culture.
Oh, wow.
And Elia's working on launching a doctoral program out of the center that's going to be fully accredited in connection. There's a couple different universities that we're looking at partnering with. So it's pretty cool. It's been neat. I'm going to go have lunch with her on Thursday, which I'm really excited about. And I went from being like a fan to now I have like standing weekly meetings and Elia texts me. it's like this weird space, but it's pretty cool.
She was in Germany last week, and at a beer garden, and you know how in Germany beer gardens, like, they have different size glasses than mere Americans, and Ilya sends a picture in just an email with a picture of her giant beer to me and Josh. and I was like, best reference I ever wrote, leads to Ilya sending me beer pics. Would you have thought, like, I got a beer pic from a nun as like even an option in life?
It's a solid one.
I was like, man, I arrived.
Yeah, that's a vote of confidence.
You got to pick a new number, Bo. We're gonna at least get 3 of these.
All right, let's jump to 11.
Oh, that's another good one. What's the closest you've come to walking away from it all, and what has kept you in the room? This is a live question for me.
It is, and you can decide the all here, Josh. What's the all? Is it like
I think
vocational ministry, or is it
I think I'm reading
what?
it as like why are you still a Christian? What, like, how close have you been to just being like, this is all what is Tripp's word? This is all a bunch of junk. Bump that. Uh and why are you still around?
Well, I I don't know. I've never had issues with God in that made me want to walk away. I have had, maybe like universal nonviolent love executed and given a perpetual future is still not compelling enough for our species, and we're going to screw that up. Like I've been depressed or sad or like utterly frustrated with whether or not it worked, or like what good is it doing or whatnot. But like my own existential experience of the divine, even when it's not like it waxes and wanes, but never like, is anyone there, has not been. When I get in those situations, I don't ask like, is God? I like more like shake a fist. But I know plenty of people who like the where is God becomes a is God question in palpable ways for them. And I think the earliest experience I had of that deep wrestling with evil and suffering was like a conglomerate of, at the macro, everything that happened after 9/11 and my grandmother's like in cancer experience and being with her through that, and my first years a minister and seeing like a child die in a car wreck. But like, so I had all those kind of lining up, and maybe it was so significant that like I had like a clingingness to the presence of God when I had the most reasons. So the leaving it all was much more the viability of the tradition, not the Galilean vision, at least for me.
Nice.
I went through a period where my mom had died. We were adopting from China, and we couldn't pass the physical home exam because the chronic illness had gotten so bad for my wife. I was struggling in my PhD program, and one of my advisors had left the school, and I had to spend an extra year in my qualifying exams reinventing what I was going to do my quals on. I was stuck at work because the loft had taken off and was becoming sort of its own viable congregation, but they wouldn't let me change my job description that I had originally been hired for as children, youth, and family minister. We had somebody living with us because their spouse had committed adultery and left them. And like, I had so much going on. I almost broke. I almost melted down. I was having like heart palpitations and anxiety attacks. And my father offered for any of us children who wanted to go to grief therapy, he would pay for it. And I found a grief counselor, and I started going to therapy, and it was the best thing I did. I'm not sure I would have made it without therapy. I needed that. The irony, by the way, is that my dad paid for my therapy, but ironically, most of the time I ended up just talking about my dad and my relationship to my dad. And I just thought it was so funny because he was paying for it. So I was essentially talking to my grandfather. My therapist was like a grandfather about my father. And it was just a very, very funny moment in my life. But yeah, on every front, life was not going great and I almost broke, but it actually, even when, like, if you so for me, even if you believe in the death of God, right?
Mhm.
Or the sort of the antiquated notion of the doctrines we've been handed, even if you don't buy into that anymore, and you study the historical Jesus and you're not convinced about this second person of the Trinity formulation and the king of the universe messianic stuff, and even if you just think Jesus was like a wandering sage who caused trouble for the authorities, right? The one thing I can never get away from is the presence of Holy Spirit.
Mm.
And that abiding presence in my life, like, even if I walked away from everything else, from ministry, from church, from faith, in a formalized, institutional, doctrinal way, I would still have a relationship with spirit.
Mhm.
And so, um, even when life was as tough as I can possibly imagine it, the one good thing that came out of that, if I can just say, is that I found out that I'm unsinkable. 'Cause, um,
Like you float?
I float.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a great thing to know about yourself because, and I'm being serious, in the
Yeah.
10 years since then, literally anything that comes up, no matter how heavy it feels or how much it hurts at the time, I know I'm gonna bounce back.
Mm.
I'm unsinkable. And
Mm.
so that's a nice thing to know. So what I tell people is, "You can't kill me. I'm already dead."
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Like, I'm undead. And so if you talk about second life, like for me being resurrected in Christ or whatever,
Mhm.
however you frame it, it is good to know that I've made it through the worst. And so, like, I have nothing left to lose. There's a freedom in
Yeah.
being undead.
Mhm. Yeah. I like it. Yeah, that's good. And also, I mean, to your, I'm going through a similar thing that you were describing as like your own experience where like when it rains, it pours kind of thing. And so like in that moment, I've been kind of glad that I already knew about like process thought, open theism, etc. Because if I was still into the whole like classical theism bit, I'd be like, man, God freaking hates me. So
Mm.
like luckily I don't have to do that. But for me, what actually like process thought really saved for me like a lot of the I guess like the metaphysical picture is helpful. And it's a big part why like I don't find atheism credible amongst some other things. And I can't get away from spirit like you're saying, Bo. But I have found like radical theology, the death of God stuff like we were talking about, um that animates me in a different way.
Mhm.
Um because like I think with connection to spirit and recognizing that there's still something deeper here and like not being able to fully name that kind of like, I love Caputo's insistence language
Yeah.
speaks nicely to my like felt experience. And I like can't get rid of that. And then,
Preach.
I listen to uh so my buddy Jed, we do this bit called the Emogelicals together, which is just like on our Patreon, like exclusive stuff. He has a podcast called Church and Other Drugs, and he just had Trip on recently because Jed is going to be at beer camp this year.
Okay.
And listening to it was so funny because Trip was like blowing Jed's mind. And like Jed was like, I didn't realize that like Trip was like a Christian. And I was like, yeah, dude, Trip is like one of the most Christian people that I know.
I think I saw you do a short on this.
Yeah, and, like, during that conversation, like, here's, again, what keeps me around is, like, somehow in whatever way Trip and I've told you this before, like, Trip articulates the Galilean vision, or the gospel, whatever language you wanna speak, it does something to me, it moves me. And so, like, there was a part where I got, like, emotional listening to Trip talk
Wow.
to Jed, and I was like, what do I do with that? I can't deny my experiential reality, and so that's kind of even amongst all the shit and all of the nerd stuff that constantly lives in my head and screams and is like, all of this is made up, there's something that I can't experientially escape. And God, grace, love, whatever.
You know, just to give a shout out to Caputo again, that idea that God doesn't exist, God insists, freed me up. And especially when he pairs it with the name of God as an event.
Yes.
It freed me up so much to not be bound by only the ways I had heard God talked about in the past, but to be able to hold them as one flower in a much bigger bouquet. It was so liberating and so life-giving. And I know that Meryl Westphal calls it thin soup, but God, I love it. I love it.
Me too.
Sometimes when your tummy's upset, the only soup you can have is thin soup. Otherwise, you'll regret it and end up dehydrated.
But I think there's something to it as well, because I think the ethical demand that radical theology puts on you is significant. Like, that's where I actually think process and radical share, is that, like, the invitation of God or the lure of God, the insistence of God, whatever. In process thought, you have to give in to the divine lore, participate with God for things to happen. Within radical thought, you have to actualize the divine. So either way, like, you can't be passive in your faith. You have, like, it calls something out of you. And then, I don't know. I like that.
When I hear people talk like this, there's something like internal to me that's just going num 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 num. Just I'm eating it up. Num 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 num.
Yeah, well, I just did a nerdy 2-hour conversation with Aaron Simmons on Levinas, and like the whole idea of like the infinite responsibility to the face of the other, deeply compelling. I also think that plays nicely with some radical thought. So I was digging that too.
Wow, that is some deep nerdy stuff.
Okay, one aside about that connection of process and radical there. Do you remember, Bo, when we had the 3 JCs at the American Academy of Religion? So this is just Catherine Keller and Caputo and Cobb. And we made these posters of John Cobb was getting his like beer, homebrewed beer at the thing, right? And we made this poster, by we I mean Jesse Turry, of this Cobb quote that like about God is the call forward in every moment, something like it, the call forward language, right? And Caputo was just like, I don't understand what about that sentence I don't agree with, right? And then Catherine, it's like, well, Jack, I think the real difference is that we agree that God is always insisting. It's just John and I think, well, we can make it existing. And maybe the one that keeps insisting wants to show up every once in a while, like in this kind of playful way. But but like that experience that both of them point you to is a sense that like you can't overcome where you find yourself, right? The past is showing up, so it limits whatever the horizon is. But both of them say something like, of all that meets you in this moment as possibilities, it's not vain to give yourself to what is most beautiful, good, true, adventurous, zesty. Just like the when you ask, where does faith show up? It's saying yes to the possibilities that are available to you where you find yourself. And for process people, like, that is the very structure of the cosmic becoming. It is a hermeneutical horizon in the radical theology broadly, but like how the phenomenology of it, like what the lived experience of the person of faith is, they both share this kind of recognition that you can be distracted to what fidelity looks like in this moment if you let the past overdetermine you, or if you let the future be clouded out by utopian fantasies. And the most precious thing you have is something you get an opportunity to acknowledge in every moment. And that's the little slither of agency that you have in a moment is the place in which you give the call of God a response. And what that response looks like in this moment shapes what's being inherited in the next. And like when I think of like, the previous question of like leaving it behind, I'm like, yeah, okay. So if I switch, like, what's a more beautiful way of narrating on days I don't know if any of it has traction with anything else in the whole world? I still think the world would be better off if there's a community of people that transcend nation states, languages, and at the very heart of them, their identity told most beautifully is one where they are brought into the body of Christ. They are nourished at that table, and they're invited to meet the coming of God in the face of every other. Like whether or not that narrative is true or not is just like, that's a giggleable question. It makes you giggle. If that's like the first question that comes to mind. And I think that there's a sense where both traditions recognize like theology or the legitimation structure of any religion. It should be the energetic poetics that come on the way in which the tradition orients you and transforms you. And so in different ages, you have to talk about what's getting itself done in the whole thing. But that orientation and transformative engine is kind of like running beneath it. And then we have to do theology. And if you start holding beliefs from other times, you can call back from the past, and it might help you orient in that moment or be transformed. And other times it closes you off to what the invitation of any moment is. And so both process tradition and the radical theology tradition is like in a world that has been Protestantism on steroids, where we think like what religion really is are these beliefs that come up. They both have different ways of going. Like, no, beliefs come out of an actual encounter, and fidelity is to that event. And and I have a whole book that says that event both generated the expression of Jesus as the Christ and is part of what means this. But like all of that metaphysical thing aside, like the thing that's compelling to me about Christianity is the other narratives, at least in the West, that invite us to interpret our past and define our future and orient ourselves for responsibility, are ones that are so hijacked by narratives that do not think the face of the other. And the least of these demand accountability in whatever way we can measure in a moment. Dude. If it's our economic narrative, if it's our nation's narrative, so you start going through them. And we have words for that theologically. They're called idols. And idols have always demanded sacrifice. And so like if for Whitehead, who did not have a Christology nearly as high as mine and probably wouldn't even know why you would ask that question, but he did describe a universe where he thought engaging in the sciences and stuff that were changing, that became utterly transfixed by the fact that from the beginning of our space time and whatever way that emerged, or there's lots of cosmological debates, but we can look back at least at a 13.8 billion year story that invitation generated the possibility space where we can forgive someone, where we can not be claimed by our past, where we can be the site of something new coming into being when we, let not our will, but God's will, anyway, I don't need to go into a whole sermon.
But that was great, man.
What?
So, two quick things. I don't always listen back to the TNT afterwards. I'm going to today, both for Josh's answers to the Methodist questions, because I'm gonna copy and paste them, and for Tripp's soliloquy there, I'm gonna go back and listen to this one, and I don't always do that. So that's number one. Number two, Josh, at that event, he was talking about the American Academy of Religion in San Diego.
Yeah.
So much happened in that one gathering that I will never forget. For instance, we had to have 2 ballrooms, and they took down the divider between them because we had so many people there. We got in trouble for bringing our own beer. I mean, like, I got to talk with Khaled Keith Perry. It was just so many great things happen. But the thing I will never forget is it was during that period where I was talking to you about when I was sinking.
Mm-hmm.
At one point in the event, Catherine Keller puts her hand on my back and says, "Bo, Jesus loves you." And it was so endearing and just so pastoral and caring. I just thought it was really funny, but I'll never forget that a world-class theologian had to assure me that Jesus loved me. That's not good. That's not good.
I dig it. To that point, in my meeting with Elia yesterday, I got some rather kind and inspiring sisterly advice, as she called it.
Wow.
At the end of our meeting, which, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Take that for granted.
I love
that way you could just tell you're like, well, my nun told me.
That's right.
All right, Bo, pick another number.
27.
Ooh, I was actually looking at this one and I've been trying to think about it, and I don't know that I have a good answer. So maybe you guys will spark something for me. What's a question that you're genuinely afraid to ask out loud, and will you ask it now on the internet?
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Well, so I'll go big picture and then a smaller picture.
I thought you were gonna say 24.
Switch. I'm calling an audible.
Yeah, this question.
I think so. I'll go big picture and then a smaller picture. Big picture. If it turns out that one of the other world religions is the truth is true, will I get into their good place? So if I'm authentic and deliberate in my own faith tradition, and it turns out that one of the other world religions is right, do I get to go in the good direction after this chapter of my mortal existence because I was authentic within my own faith tradition? Or so that's like a universalist, right? Type of idea. Or yeah, so that's a big question that I think about is like, and I'll even go if Catholics or Calvinists or Buddhists or Hindus or Mormons, like I wonder about that universalist question, and but it's sort of an odd one to say out loud.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. I have this thing, like, part of the reason that Calvinism freaks me out so much is because I'm convinced if Calvinism is true, then I'm not elect. Because since my theology is like the opposite of Calvinism, I can't be elect because God, if I was elect, God would have given me correct theology so I could be in correct relationship with him, and I'm just not. So I'm clearly.
What if you're just a demonstration of God's love? Like you're being redeemed nonetheless, and you've just been corrupted by.
Well, I'm
Tom
taking
Holland.
a lot of people down with me then. Yeah, right.
What was the other one, Bo?
Well,
or you want me to do one? Why you decide if you're going to say it or not?
I am deciding whether we're going to say it.
Okay, so I had two. One is so there's this bit in like Bonhoeffer's ongoing struggle with his relationship to the German country and people, and he describes the anguish of praying for their defeat. And like where he got to the point that the church had lost so much integrity, so both the state and the church had failed, that the preservation of a fascist regime and an apostate church meant the most faithful thing was to pray for the defeat of his country. And I've never, like, I think I would resist getting to that point rather aggressively. So, like, when you think of all the things that have been going on, not like specific to, I mean, Trump's like the expression of it currently, but there's so many elements of our nation state that are problematic, and the role we play in the globe has just been kind of assumed by so many in the church that the post-war order, the world's better off with us in charge. And whatever the point, the us changes will be less than ideal experience for people in our country, especially those on the bottom. So that one, like, are you actually resisting God by not taking up that prayer bit?
So my more personal one, when you have a partner who has debilitating chronic illnesses and you've already lost both your parents, it causes you to hold questions inside that make you uncomfortable that they're present to you. And so I'll say it this way. If it turns out I was in a Truman Show type reality and everything was broadcast, how bad would it be? Like,
oh my.
I know I laugh a lot and I have a gregarious personality, but I am so cynical and jaded and calloused in parts of me that I just, like, I wonder sometimes, like, all right, would I disqualify myself? So there's a lot of existential angst. And
you had a nightmare after watching the Truman Show?
I did.
What if you found out years later that, like, on your deathbed, they're like, you've been a star of the show, and you're like, great. Well, it only ran 3 seasons, but we didn't know how to tell you.
So if people, like around Halloween time, or people who like scary movies, they'll ask, like, what's your favorite horror movie? It's The Truman Show.
Dude,
I find it horrifying.
Oh my.
I mean, it is fair, I think, but that's the thing, right? Like, if all of us had our own internal thoughts, like, broadcasted to the world, I don't think anybody would be super down with that. In the same way that, like,
whoa, I can think of a few people.
Yep.
You say, I don't think anyone with a marginally healthy sense of self would be down with that.
All right. This is fair enough.
Good asterisk, yes.
I don't know. I think we could all get ourselves in trouble if our true thoughts were broadcasted to the world, or, like, I don't know. There's always those memes about, like, me and the boys in heaven with God going through our group chat, and, like, you're in trouble or whatever. Like, I think, we like to, I mean, for good reason, call people out for doing and saying stupid things, but then forget at the same time that, like, there's probably stuff that if it got out that, like, I texted my friend in a joke, wouldn't look great.
Yeah,
the reality for everybody, and when we pretend it's not, it's stupid.
Did you see Hunter Biden saying basically that in the replies, where people are, like, losing their junk over, like, whatever the main Senate candidates, like, message board posts from with his, in the middle of PTSD and stuff, and he was like, oh, this is a great idea. I would love for you to just, give us access to everything you've ever posted, texted, and moved. Like, just hand your phone over. We'll make sure we get rid of all the inappropriate people in Washington. No one's going to do that.
Wow.
Unless they might like let their kid via an app see what websites they go to.
Oh my.
But, oh man. All right, Bo, pick another number.
Let's go 4.
Oh, 4.
All right. Well, this fits into kind of the processy bit. I have a feeling I know how both of you will answer this.
Oh.
Does God experience time, or is God watching the whole movie at once while we're stuck frame by frame?
Yes.
Nailed it. But
So I love this question, but for a different reason
okay.
than time. So I was told that truth is both universal and timeless. And that's just not true. I have come to realize that it would be more accurate to say that it is located, it is mediated, and that it is provisional. So even if there is a God and that God is outside time, like we just in our epistemic limitation wouldn't have access to that truth, right?
Mhm.
Except, some people would argue through revelation, right? The Bardians in the room.
Yep, I was just about to say that.
So this idea of when we talk about God and time, I find it as fascinating to hear people's thoughts about God as I do to hear their thoughts about time. Because to me, both are as telling and erroneous. The relative arrogance with which we talk about these two subjects, for me, exposes the folly of human rationality and reason.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought I was going to say?
No, it's not. I thought you were just going to agree with Tripp. But I mean, you don't not agree with Tripp. For me, it never made sense. Like, even growing up, when people were like, oh, God exists outside of time, like, I was always like, well, then don't you think like God, you have a relationship with God? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, how do you ever, if you're temporal and God's not, how do you relate to that? And like, that never made sense to me. And then you have to say weird things. If God is non-temporal, you have to say like God doesn't exist right now. That's strange to me. I don't know.
Well, can I just say, I think it's interesting how theologians talk about the Christ event, changing the nature of time, or humans' understanding of it, or the human conception of it, the paradigm. In native wisdom around the world, perennially, time is cyclical, right? It's a circle shape. German theologians, Trippy, you can help me out here, had a real strong opinion that once you had an incarnation, that time became more linear and had a telos. So the way we understand and relate to time changed when Christianity came on the scene. And thus the nature of being, right? This is where we end up with Heidegger, and Tripp, you can help me with Hegel. The culmination of time, Tripp, I don't know if you say parousia or parousia. What's your favorite pronunciation of that? But anyway, I find it fascinating that Christianity has a very different conception of time than native wisdoms.
Yeah, I think most people date like the emergence of historical consciousness, which is, I think, what we're talking about, right? That there's a linear narrative in the West, the prophets and And the really Western philosophy after the Socratics, like they both kind of end up influencing each other. But the and this is one of the features, John Cobb, in talking about the gifts of the Jewish and Christian tradition to the West, is historical consciousness. And it has like there are two big elements. One of it is, right, like when you have historical consciousness, say the prophets, like what you're doing in your history shapes what comes to be, right? And you're not like on a track that's going to replay itself. And one of the things that emerged from that is the recognition of valuation, that what happens in your history and in your moment and such has, like, it is your own teleological experience is part of a larger narrative. And I think the reason it ends up emerging and then, in modernity in the West is partially because of the emergence of science and one seeing the more we know about the larger cosmic story, it would be hard to call it cyclical unless you're calling like space-time cyclical, like you could have like, which I know some people will do, like cosmic epochs. But at least within our particular space-time, the growth, expanse, and kind of emergent complexity leads to a kind of historical consciousness, right? That we emerge as within this larger story. And in the religious space, historical consciousness means a kind of responsibility for one's finitude in the time you show up. I do think the movement and stuff of history, there are, and this would be like the errors of like the general progressive vision, right? That teleological move through history is not in some way tethered to the collective agency of people, right? That it's just on this particular trajectory regardless. There, I want to channel some of that, the long, slow defeat image in Tolkien, or like historical consciousness does not have to correlate to like idealistic utopian trajectories. It can also be expressed in the like nevertheless energy of how you use your own agency in your own moment. But
I think for me the issue is God is not a being in the way that we are a being. God is being. And therefore you can't, Polkington used to say, if you ask the sun a question about waves, you'll get an answer that is about waves. And if you ask it about, what was the other option? Oh, I just lost my quote. Anyway, depending on what kind of question you ask, you'll get a different kind of answer. When we conceptualize of God as a being among beings, or even the greatest of beings, we get distorted conceptions of time as well. So I think the whole question is fascinating because it exposes so many other assumptions that we're making to even have the conversation. But can I just say, one of the reasons I love this conversation, and this might surprise you, is because of the sacraments. So for me, I come from a non-sacramental understanding. They were just symbols, right? It's always bread, it's always juice. And they're symbols that like remind us of a higher reality or what they represent, right? They're symbols. I have now moved in the last 20 years to what I call hyper-sacramental understanding, which is I don't just think that they are sacraments in the moment, but that they reorient all time. This is the like metaphysical to me. They orient all time in that they don't just call back like an echo to the breaking of the bread that we read about in scripture when Jesus, breaks the bread, but that in the breaking, it becomes the very song that it is calling back to, that the song is sung again. And in that sense, it is a perpetual and perennial voice. It's not an echo of a voice. It becomes the voice again.
Brad, what's oh
So we're not remembering, if I can just say that.
because we know we don't want to
I hate the we're just membering. We are the members and we're membering.
Who's the French guy that we
like
went and saw at Duke trip? What was his name?
Jean-Luc Marion.
Yeah, Marion. And he has his whole, like, what does he call it? Saturated phenomena?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was reminded of when you were talking, though. Although I think, I don't know if that connection actually makes sense, but that's where my mind went. Is his saturated phenomena. But to your point, though, about the, like, I guess the level of arrogance that we speak about God, I think about that often, because there's like a book project that I've been sitting on for a hot second, and like the thing that keeps me from doing it is like that kind of level of arrogance bit, because basically I would want to be like, here's the Josh Patterson conception of God and why it doesn't suck, like finding a God worthy of worship. But like that seems a bit arrogant to an extent, but I also feel like recognizing that, like, if we're doing constructive theology, or theopoiesis is probably how I'd prefer to talk about it, like God making. If you do that in fidelity to the tradition and not in spite of it, does that kind of like help free me from some of the arrogance to be, to steal one of Tripp's phrases, like God has to be at least as nice as Jesus. So if we're Christians and we're going to talk about a God who is love, is it too arrogant to say, if God is love, this is what I think that God has to look like? While recognizing, like, okay, this is all poesis. You know what I mean? Like, that's where the arrogance comes up.
So I love this conversation so much. Let me tell you why. So if you're coming from, say, you're still using the evangelical framework that you inherited, you're just on the outside of it now, but the box is still in place, right? So the inherited paradigms and the epistemological certainties. So if you're just outside of that now, but the box still exists, right? So people, say they think outside the box. You're like, well, in your world, there's still a box, right? So, but if you migrate to that thing that I said, that your access to truth is located, mediated, and provisional, then you have to say something in the moment. Even if you're saying today is Monday and I'm in the living room, even though that won't be true tomorrow because it'll be Tuesday and you're in the dining room, but in that moment you have to say something. It is your expression, right? So it's not with arrogance that you say it, unless you say it, okay? If you're just being a photo negative of what you used to be, then that's that arrogance you're trying to avoid. But if you migrate entirely out of that epistemic certainty, then it's actually your both delight and obligation. It's what I would say is this book insists that you write it.
Yeah. Nice.
So, Bo.
Yeah.
Your little hyper-sacramentality bit.
Yeah.
Made me think of Whitehead's definition of religion and science in the modern world.
Okay.
Where he says, religion is the vision of something that stands beyond, behind, and within the passing flux of immediate things. Something which is real, yet waiting to be realized. Something which is a remote possibility, yes, the greatest of present facts. something that gives meaning to all that passes, yet eludes apprehension, something whose possession is the final good, and yet is beyond all reach, something which is the ultimate ideal and the hopeless quest. And he talks about it. He gives this definition, right? And then he starts to look at how the role it's played and kind of culture and history. And he says the fact of the religious vision and its history of persistent expansion is our ground for optimism. Apart from it, human life is a flash of occasional enjoyments, lighting up a mass of pain and misery, a baguette of transient experience.
Whoa.
The power of God is the worship God inspires. The worship of God is not a rule of safety. It is an adventure of spirit, a flight after the unattainable. The death of religion comes with the repression of the high hope of adventure.
Wow. Adventures in the spirit. That's where that comes from.
Yes.
Wow. That was awesome. Now I have a third reason to go back and listen to this episode.
Well, there you go.
That was a great quote.
But I like it because it's like, yeah, you wouldn't not do all the things you do, and like it makes sense why we have beliefs. Or he talks about the process of rationalization. But think of the misplaced concreteness when you think it's not the engine of spirit, right? Yes. Orientation and transformation. You think the energy is the piece of the iceberg that escapes into the poetics of belief. If you get fixated on that, then you're ignoring the whole, like where the action is.
Yeah. So I love this so much. So the other implication for hypersacramentality is that not only is when we are membering, is that a holy moment? It actually, I figured out, I'm only 3 implications in, but here's what I figured out. That every table becomes sacred. Mm-hmm. Every time I'm across table from somebody, that also is a holy moment. It is sacred. And every cup becomes sacred. So whether it is water or coffee or ale, they all represent the beauty and divine potentiality of a moment. Every cup becomes sacred. And I figured out that every day becomes sacred. There's not a holy day and ordinary days. They're all holy days. And every body becomes sacred, for it bears the image of the divine and reflects to me something about that divine nature that I can't see without it. So this hypersacramentality for me transforms it so that every place, not just the church sanctuary, every place has the potential. Every table is communing. Every cup is celebrating. Every day becomes the possibility of sacredness.
Yeah, I like it, man. I think too it reminds me of like a similar thought within like some streams of Buddhism. Particularly, I'm drawing here on Thich Nhat Hanh, who I've read a significant amount of his work. But he'll talk about
evangelical of you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How did I know that was coming?
That was like, yeah, you like leave, you do the Buddhist thing, and then you kind of, read Richard Rohr or something. But anyway, he has this bit about like mindfulness, obviously, but mindful drinking. So like, you have your cup of ale. And if you look deep enough into the cup, you can actually see the universe is contained within the cup, because you can see the field that the grain grew in, and the sun that shined on that field, and the rain that fell, and the farmer who picked the grain, and the people who then brewed the beer, and all of that. So like it's all contained, like the universe is contained within a glass. And I think there's something like holy and sacred about that as well, especially once we talk about interconnectedness, interrelatedness of all things, this kind of thing. So
Oh, that's
some
beautiful.
deep resonance.
That is
It's a different
beautiful.
tradition. Yeah.
This past year at beer camp, the word wasn't enmeshed. There was a positive version of it. And Trip, what was we talked about it after beer camp. Entanglement.
Ooh.
Yes, that was my takeaway, was that God is entangled in this whole damn thing.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
All right, let's do one more question.
I'll let you pick the number. 16.
All right, that's exactly what I was thinking. Or Josh is just going to pick one and pretend to a 16.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, number 16. Who is a person that's not a theologian or an author, but just like I guess a regular person who has shaped your faith the most?
So, I got a number of them that come to mind, but there's a couple at the church I worked at in Los Angeles named Sam and Lois Bloom, who they lost one of their sons to suicide. And I remember being told the story the first time, and I can't think of something more painful than losing a child that way. And hearing how through the grieving process, like, they ended up drawing closer to each other and God, and then they started a group that ran for, it was running 20 some years, a grief group for people that, not just people from our congregation, but anyone in the community and stuff that face similar kinds of situations of intense grief. And they just kind of faithfully hosted it, and like hundreds of people went through it over the course of their lives until their health and stuff went downhill and couldn't do it. And the volume of people who in the midst of it experienced a community of care that allowed them to be present with their grief and not be abandoned to it, and that the community facilitated a kind of space where God was able to meet people in it. And knowing, as a clergy, how so often those deep experiences of grief have multiple generations of pain brought into a family when you're not able to kind of process it and stuff. You think hundreds of people went through this in 20 some years of facilitating it, and all of those families have a different future because Sam and Lois were faithful to that group that people went in and out of, over all that time. But when you're able to kind of re-narrate your family and life story after a deep grief like that, and they are kind of like the archetype in my head of like wounded healer type, that imagery. Isn't it Parker Palmer that wrote the
I think
or
Henry Nouwen.
Henry Nouwen? Yeah, it will be one of them. But to me, that, like, all those things were beautiful. And then, we moved with a 6-month-old to Los Angeles with no family around, and they became like the honorary grandparents of Alicia and I, and loved our kids. Well, the first two, because they were, Haven came later, but yeah, they're like, we experienced it just as like having honorary grandparents. But then the longer I was there, the more families whose world was completely different because they made that space.
Wow. I'll give a positive and a negative answer.
All right.
In the early 2000s, I joined a philosophy book club, and I was the only sort of true believer in there. There was one other guy who was on his way out of faith at the time, but everyone else was non-believers. It's not that they had grown up religious and left it, they had never been religious.
Mhm.
They helped me learn to think in such powerful and creative ways, but they also helped me to understand, because I had been told, like, if somebody's an atheist, they have no morality. Like, if you're not doing something out of fear of God, like, then you would just do what's best for yourself. So I learned a lot from them, and their alternative moralities, they didn't always work, but neither did my Christianity. So um, but those guys helped me so much. In fact, I tell stories from that group to this day. So, for instance, in the academy, when we talk about standpoint epistemology,
Mhm.
one of the examples that I use is I met this guy named Tori at a coffee shop, and he was explaining to me sampling rates. And this has become one of the framing analogies of my life is, Josh, if you lived in a cave and you stuck your head up above ground every 24 hours, how would you think the world works?
Mhm.
Now, what if you stuck your head up above the ground every 12 hours? How would you think the universe works, right? But what if you stuck your head up every 9 hours,
Mhm.
right? What would your sample rate? Now, what if you your head up every 3 hours? You peeked up to see, right? So depending on your sample rate, it can greatly influence how you think patterns work and
Mhm.
things are organized
Mhm.
and what's going on in the world and how bright it is and how dark it is and all that sort of stuff. So he was trying to explain to me sample rates for records, recording records, like musical records, but it totally changed the way I thought about people's experiences of the world. So that's just like that group has so deeply impacted me. And they had read stuff I had never read, like David Foster Wallace and just all sorts of stuff. Chuck Barkowski, and just stuff I never, read. And they would just, it was like us quoting theologians. Like they just were so familiar with contemporary literature. It really did impact me.
Mm.
The only other person I think I should name is Pharisaical Christians. They really help me keep out of the rut on either side of the road with what I don't want to be. And I know you never want to define yourself by what you're not, but Pharisaical Christians really do help me. They're like a warning sign, a flashing sign on either side of the road to steer clear of these ditches.
Yeah. No, it's good. I mean, I think to your point about that, that's another reason I still think using God language and playing within the realms of Christianity, etc., is important. Is because, like, if this is going to be again arrogant, but if like all the people that I thought like do Christianity well bailed because of all the people who suck at it, then only the shitty version would be left. And like the religious language, the concept of God, all of it is very powerful and like carries weight in the world. Look at what Christian nationalism is doing. So like I don't want those people to get to have the last say.
Mm,
So like doing a better version of that I think is important.
yeah.
Um, but I think similarly for me, I was also reminded of like people who like there was a dude named Sonny at the first church that I worked at where I was a teaching pastor and had like all my negative experiences. He was definitely one of the highlights. Like he was like the backbone volunteer. And like he didn't have any theological takes or opinions. Like he gave what he had always. He always showed up. He was always a good friend. Um, and like I think of people like him participating within these like church communities without any of the kind of like things that I get hung up on. And asking me like, oh, well, I have to know if, God is omnipotent or not before I can show up and participate within this, community. Sonny doesn't care about that. He just shows up and does it and like enacts love regardless. And like that's inspiring to me. And so I think of people like Sonny, or there was a leader in the youth group at Seneca Creek who I love dearly, named Mike, who like was constantly learning, always trying to ask questions, even if he didn't understand, even if it confused him. And then he would like still go and like love and serve well anyway. So those are the kind of people that I think of that have shaped my faith, that help get me out of my head and into the kind of embodied, existence, whatever.
Yeah, something you said made me think of the old Groucho Marx line, "I would never be a part of a club that would have me as a member." And what it made me think of is when I work with churches, like as a consultant who have been through crisis or conflict, one of the realizations that's been difficult for me to come to is all the people with soft hearts have already left. And the ones who are left behind are tougher cookies, or they're the meanies, they're the bullies.
Yeah.
And or they're just well adapted to dysfunction and they have coping mechanisms. So I've had to recalibrate who's in the room to begin the conversation, because you have to filter all that initial data that's going to come. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, that was fun.
That was fun.
And there's only 27 more questions.
I'm just glad that I remembered why I was like, Josh, you should come on. So if you're one of the people that listens later and aren't, at peak perfection in the chat throughout the alternate throwdown, you can send emails with ideas.
Hey, I won't sing the song, but I have to tell you guys this funny story.
Why not?
Wednesday afternoon, you'll see in a minute. Wednesday afternoon, we had our worship planning meeting for my contemporary worship service that I get to facilitate. They have given me these amazing musicians, but two of them are from Brazil. And in Brazil, charismatic evangelicalism, right? It's just so resonant with my experience that we got, after the meeting was over, we got comparing notes. And then they had to go to a different meeting. And as they were leaving, one of the singers jokingly sang this song that they used to sing. And I sort of joined in. And it was like a moment of us saying, like, oh my gosh, do you remember this song? So he goes to his next meeting, and that damn song got stuck in my head. And I only know 2 lines from it. So I sang the same 2 lines for 24 hours. That stupid thing was like an earworm that got stuck in my head. Now, the funny thing is, because of the way my brain works, when I don't know actual lyrics, my brain will supplement in possible fillers that have the same amount of syllables. So I'm going to sing you the benediction today. Okay?
Uh-oh.
You ready? God is jealous for me, floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. I'll see you in Valhalla, brother.